Hey everyone, this is Shama with Girls and Geese. We are back for yet another edition of our Ask a Black Belt segment. I'm super excited. I have a really good friend of mine on today. She's a phenomenal athlete. She has multiple IBJJF titles. She is an avid teacher as well. You can catch some of her seminars and camps all over. She will be joining me here in just a moment. Her name's Heather Woods. And let me go ahead and bring her on. Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being on. Hey, puppy.
Sorry, Bolo doesn't understand the phone too much. He'll stop in a minute.
No problem. Thank you so much for joining us
For
today.
sure.
So I gave you a little bit of introduction today. Tell us a little bit more about you. I know you have a program that you also have a online coaching program as well. Um, so feel free to plug anything you like to
Um,
kick us off.
for sure. I have an online coaching program. Well, my name's Heather Woods, and I have done jiu-jitsu now about 11 years, and I've been very dedicated to it. I trained and competed all over the world. And my team is Atos. I got my brown and my black belt from Galvao. And right now I'm currently living in the Pacific Northwest, teaching seminars and hanging out with friends and family, because most of my friends and family not all, but a lot of my friends and family are over in Idaho and Seattle and in this area. And
Awesome.
yeah. And I have an online coaching program where I help you with your nutrition, your strength and conditioning, and your mindset. I do video analysis, and we talk about all the things that you need to bring your jiu-jitsu to where you want it to be, whether it's a competition or just bringing it past that plateau in the gym. And yeah, you can just check out my Instagram, and I have a link right there to schedule a free 15-minute consult. And let's see what else. I do have a camp coming up. It was really cool. We're doing guns, horses, and jiu-jitsu.
Oh,
So
nice.
all of you people who love guns and horses,
And
good.
jujitsu.
And jiu-jitsu, so you can put everything together. So yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Oh,
cool. I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. So if
I
you
just
guys
want
have
to.
any questions. Oh, go ahead.
I just need to address one comment in the comment section. It says from Ronaldo Jr. that he passes my guard every day, which is mildly true, but we just need to let everyone know that I scored 2 points on him and he didn't want to let me have it, so I had to throw him off the mat. So so I used to live with a couple MMA fighters, and I would do their stand-up classes when I lived in LA. And I was always terrible at stand-up, and they would tell me to do jiu-jitsu. And I was like, no, that's gross, because they always had MRSA and stuff, and they were gross. But so I just thought it was a gross thing, and sweaty and touching people, and then I ended up finishing college, and I started to travel. And when I did, I put a gi on and I tried jiu-jitsu, and I was in Brazil, and I never stopped. So yeah.
Awesome. So I know that a lot of elite competitors like yourself, you go through periods of ups and downs with competition. Have you ever at any point, let me start off with this. Do you still get nervous when you compete? I know you compete all the time, but is that
Mm-hmm.
still something that you...
Oh, for sure. It's still a huge issue for me. I don't consider myself a great competitor for that reason. I've done a lot of mental work with my mental coach, Jiggy Yoon. She's incredible, and she helped me get to a level at brown belt where I felt unbeatable, because I could win anything, and I just had a good mind, mental space. Once I got to black belt, I feel like I went down on a little bit of a dip again and got scary, because it just feels like starting all over again. But I definitely still get nervous, and it's something that I do need to start to put more work on again. So I think it's forever. Bola gets nervous also when he when I compete. Sorry guys for my dog. He is boisterous. Bola, stop it.
What advice do you have for people who also suffer from like nerves and anxiety going into competition?
So there's a lot of things that you can do. I think having good mantras, I think having good preparation, both mentally and physically are great. A lot of the things that I feel like have helped me, we talk about on in my program, as well as oh, she just wrote Bola's the best. We talk about in my program, but I think the main thing is when you have, let's say, like all your ducks in a row, competing feels a lot. You have a lot less nerves because you feel like you've checked all the boxes and you can feel that you can go out there, and that's always good. I think having good mantras. I think having good meditations, or if you pray, whatever you feel that is like good for you to do those things leading up. So whether you meditate or whether you pray doesn't matter, but just being in a good mental space, I think, is super important. So those are just a few things that I use. Yeah.
Awesome. Did you know early on that you wanted to compete? Was that something like straight off the bat, you're like, I am down to compete, I'm all in?
Yeah, for sure. I'm super competitive in everything in my life. And so I think it was like my first competition, I had trained 3 months, and I didn't even know the points. I just knew arm bars. So we just did arm bars.
Just
Yeah.
over and over and
I
over.
did arm bars for a long time. That's all
That
I
was your
did in
go-to.
competition. Yeah, but I love anything that's competitive. So as soon
Yeah.
as I started, I was like, I want to compete, and they're like, okay, well, first learn jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
So for those, do you think that competition is something that everyone should at least explore during their journey? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's important, and I also think that yeah, I think that that's super important. I think that competition you should at least try once, and that doesn't mean to go sign up for worlds. And if you're like 50 years old, it means like go compete with your peers. I think preferably would be good to do at least once per belt, just to see how you feel. I think it is good to do again with your, like I said, with your peer group. So if you're master, to compete in masters, or just because I feel like sometimes not competing, you can just become complacent. And sometimes it can show you, like, oh, this might be something that you need to work on. And there's lots of tournaments for all different kinds of people. There's small tournaments, there's large tournaments. Like, usually if you're in a decently populated area, now there's a local tournament like every month or two. So
Yeah, absolutely. So what is your favorite aspect of jiu-jitsu, I guess? Do you enjoy the competitive side? Do you enjoy the teaching side, the mentoring? Just what would you say is your
um
favorite part of it?
I think my favorite part, I I don't know. I think it's part of what we do now. Like, I'm sure it's the same for you. You've done jujitsu like 20 years, but I think it's important part of our life, like for our health. So it's just kind of like eating or breathing. Like, if you're like, what's your favorite part of eating? I'm like, I don't know.
I
Like,
don't know.
I like to eat, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I like all the things about it. Things I
No, that's
don't like,
fair.
but yeah.
Yeah. So you've been doing jiu-jitsu for some time now. We've seen a lot of changes in jiu-jitsu in your time. What would you say is one of the bigger changes that you're like, yes, I'm so happy that that happened, and it's kind of like a sign or a symbol of like progress for the sport
Um,
or the art?
I think I think one is good that it's becoming more mainstream. I wish that I hope the representatives of it being more mainstream could, like, maybe learn to articulate themselves a little bit better, because I do want jujitsu to be seen as like a professional sport.
Mhm.
But I do think that it's good that it's becoming mainstream. So there's a hard balance in order to make it like popular. I do also love, for example, the Polaris that they did the women's. They
Yes.
finally did the women's Grand Prix, which was fantastic.
Yes.
I think that is another very big step in jiu-jitsu. I really love the equal pay in the events like Grand Slam and how they do equal pay. Personally, I think is fantastic because they pay per number of competitors. So like 1 to 9 or something, you get like a different price point for first, second, and third. And then if you have over like 10 to 16, there's a different price point. So it's on us women to show up to make the money. So I think it's completely fair. We can't say 2 women showed up and we get 20 grand when 400 guys showed up. That's an exaggeration, obviously, but um, there's a lot of events where they have prize packages, and I think it's fantastic when the prize package is based on the number of, like, let's say you have 6 matches, then you should get paid the same as the guy who has 6 matches. I fought the Abu Dhabi Grand Slam when I was blue belt, and I remember I won the open class. They still had open class then, and I had the same amount of matches that day as Kennedy Cabrina's kid, and I made, I think, 400 and he made 1,500, and I
Yeah.
was like,
That's a big
what?
difference.
Yeah,
It's a big
it's a
difference.
big difference. But and I had the same amount of matches, so I was baffled. But I think now them saying, okay, if this many women show up, then that's how much you get paid. So I think that if more organizations did that similar split, that would be fantastic. And then it's on us to show up.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So those are the two
I'm
things that
curious.
I like right now. Yeah. That the
What
improvements,
changes
I
would you
guess.
like to see going forward? What do you think is another sign of progress for us to move forward?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I think you cut out because you're in the middle of the jungle. I don't know where you are.
Sorry. What kind of progress would you like to see moving forward?
Um, I I think I like the progress that jiu-jitsu is making. I think it should become more mainstream. I would like it to be things like a professional institute, like in the Olympics, or like a national support, so that we can have the same types of funding for like kids with wrestling and like I I don't know how they do federations, but I think more federations, not just IBJJF, but like where they have like an HR and I don't know. I think more mainstream. Yeah, more like the Olympics.
Yeah. No, absolutely. During your journey, have you ever hit kind of any, like, literally, like, where you hit the wall, where you're just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I'm having a hard time in my jiu-jitsu journey. And if
Mm,
so, what kind of got you through those phases?
Um, off the top of my head, just recently, I lost Europeans, and that was like a really bad kick. And I was in Europe for a month, and I didn't train much. Um, I think just time for me for some of those, but I think sometimes injury can be hard for other people. Like if you get injured and wanting to come back, but
Hmm.
I don't know. Jiu-jitsu's always been kind of, like I said, like eating or sleeping for me. So
What would you say to people who are struggling through a phase, whether it be injury, whether it be just kind of burnout, or
I
coming
think
off a tough loss?
no, for sure. For burnout, for sure, is a real thing. I think a lot of people don't know how to make a schedule for themselves. Um, I think it's super important when you want to have a good balance in life, like your personal life, your professional life, and your jujitsu life. And especially for those who are training once or twice a day, to make a good split schedule. That's one of the things we cover in the online coaching. Is the first thing is like, what's your schedule right now? how can we make it better? And then we modify it if it's like too much on their plate, if it's not enough, what we can do more, and how we can train smarter. A lot of people just train, and then they're like, why am I not getting results? So that can cause burnout, because then they think like, oh, I just need to train more. No, maybe you need to train smarter. So having good rest and recovery is super important, and when you don't have those things, that oftentimes leads to burnout. For injury, I think just taking baby steps. I hurt my knee before, after a grand slam like 2 years ago. And when I came back, I had to drill. Then I would roll with like the kids in the gym, like 12s. Then the teenage girls who are like beasts, as you know, there. But still like not so heavy. They're still quite a bit lighter than me. Probably had like 20-30 pounds on them. And then I would start to go with the blue belts and the purples, and then back to like my normal training partners. And I think just coming back slow, and people would be like, just train, just come to comp class. And I'm like, no. Like, learning to say no is really important, because in that instance you can then get injured again. So I think those might did that help answer your question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'm curious as to what does your coaching program, online coaching program, what does that entail? If I'm wanting to sign up, what kind of services does that include roughly?
So we have a dietitian that I hired. She's from Mexico City. Her name's Ana Catalina, and she is incredible. She's worked with people with diabetes who've had different like I forgot what it's called. Just different like dietary issues. And then she started working with athletes and CrossFit, and she also now is working with all of our students for the last year or so. She is a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and she is great at weight cut, but also maintenance, because a lot of people are like, I want to be at this weight, but when they're given a plan, it's not maintainable. It's not realistic. And I personally know this from experience. When I was given a weight cut plan, and I was like, 2 eggs, yogurt. I was like, what is this? This is my snack. This is my snack.
Yeah, this is not a meal.
Yeah, and what was crazy was I wasn't eating enough protein. I wasn't eating enough food. So she really helps figure out what you're eating, how you can eat better, what your goals are, and to make it something that you can keep in your everyday life without being like, I'm suffering, I'm craving pizza every day.
Yeah.
Like, she's incredible. And then we work with Electrum Performance, which is a strength and conditioning program that they use in Atos, and a lot of athletes now all over the world are using Electrum Performance. It's built just for jiu-jitsu, and strength and conditioning is super important, even if you're not competing, because just like think about every day you're like ripping apart your ligaments. You need the muscles around them to be strong, especially if you're over 30. You have to lift. Like, you have to lift. It's so important. And then I do video analysis. We talk about your goals. Like I say, we do your schedule, we do your strategy, we figure out how you can train smarter. And then I've even had clients that like have their own gyms or have their own programs, or like their own women's program, or they're now teaching fundamentals but feel lost, and I help them build a structure. We talk about their curriculum. We figure out how they can be better and how they can improve not only themselves but their students. So it's pretty all inclusive. And just if you're the hobbyist in the gym and you're getting smoked every day, like, I'm here to help you too. So yeah.
So it's for basically all
All skill
levels, regardless of what
levels.
your goals are,
Yes.
whether you want to be a competitor or not.
Yes. So I work with anyone 14 and up. I think before 14, you should just train jiu-jitsu for fun, is my opinion. People might not believe me or agree with me, but yeah. So for teens and up, men, women, competitors, hobbyists, like we have something that will help you. So
That's awesome. No, that's awesome. I think you touched on a lot of aspects of it. There's the preventative care, right, which is huge
mm-hmm.
because the older you get, the more injuries you're susceptible to have. As a, you
Yes.
know, and then addressing the different needs too for different practitioners for
Mm-hmm.
different goals as well as physical capability. So that's awesome. I'm glad that you're doing that. I think that's a really amazing service that you offer.
Thank
I
you.
know you've had a lot of really amazing mentors throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, what has been one of those pieces of advice? Like, what has been one, like, I know you have a lot that you've gotten over the years, but what is something that somebody has, like, kind of a piece of advice that you got that has really kind of just stuck with you, that has helped you throughout your journey?
Mm.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Um, no, I think two things come to my mind, but I think the best was um I think it's especially for the competitors. Angelica told me before that, like, the people when you win and the people by your side, and then when you lose, the people by your side. And I forgot how she worded it, but I basically like not to worry about the people who are around you when you win, but it's the ones like there
That,
through everything.
yeah, the
Just
ones that stick through the hard times as
yes,
well.
yes. And I think she just wants like not everything is about competition. And my mental coach said something similar. She told me that not to not to place your identity as you as an on you as an athlete. And it's
Yep,
actually something I talked about today as well. So
absolutely.
yeah. So I think we can't like our identity in that. Even the people who are the 1%, there's so much more to them than just an athlete. Well, most of them. Some of them I'm not quite sure. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. But yeah, most everybody are pretty multifaceted humans, especially the women in jiu-jitsu. Like I think
Oh,
there's some
yeah.
incredible women that I meet that have like hobbies and kids and husband kids.
Abs- Husband, kids. That's a real thing.
That's a real thing. Yeah.
So, what are some of your goals going moving forward? What will we see of Heather Woods in
Um
2023 and
23.
beyond?
So this year I am going to teach some seminars. I am looking into where right now. So if you ever have an idea, shoot me a DM. I'm really focusing on my online program. I've really enjoyed watching people grow, and it's nice because I don't have to stay in one space, but I still get the like all the good feelings of like the people and their progress. And like one of my students did so great in their competition this weekend, and like another one has just gone leaps and bounds and got her brown belt and is running
Awesome.
her own gym. And this is from where she was like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know if I don't know this and I don't know that, to like a certified badass. So I think that's fantastic because I do like to move around a little bit, so it's nice to be able to see like the progress in people and have my little school and everyone doing so well. And it is a little bit like not everything is selfless, like I love seeing their wins because I feel them as wins for me too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the main thing, and the rest is unknown. I'd like to compete some more no-gi this year. I'd love to do the combat, the Medusa. I'm hoping for a
Mm-hmm.
bracket. I can't cut to 135, so I'm hoping for a 145. And that's all. Yep.
Awesome. Well, I think you're on a path for greatness, so just keep doing what you're doing,
Thank you.
No, but I think you touched on a really interesting topic going backwards, is talking about how we wrap our identity up in our performance and our for a lot of people, just being a practitioner as well. What
Mm-hmm.
do you think, like in your experiences, what have you learned in kind of unraveling that as not being complete truth, as being who you are as a person?
Because at the end of the day, I go to Taco Bell and nobody knows who I am, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. Um. Actually, they probably know who I am because I tip well. I don't go to Taco Bell, but the taco truck, the taco truck. But they don't know I do jiu-jitsu and they don't care. Like, nobody cares. I think that was what I had to realize was, like, only us in our community, and we put so much on it. And I'm not saying, like, don't train hard and don't do the best you can do, but at the end of the day, win or lose, you come home to a world that, like, doesn't even know jiu-jitsu exists. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's important, yes, but we're not Kobe. And I think that just to do the best you can and yeah, I think that's what I needed.
Absolutely. And I think that's an important lesson for a lot of people to learn,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close out with one final question. And I'm going to leave it open to you to answer. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you feel that you would like to put out there for people to either know about you, to know about your journey, or any kind of snippet of advice that you'd like to kind of close out with?
No, I think we touched on really good things. Like, it's important to have your community, but it's also important to, like, not revolve your whole life on jujitsu and just, I mean, our life is jujitsu, so, but don't base it on your accolades. Like, at the end of the
100%.
day, it is win or lose. We're just having a great time, and no, I think it's great. I'm really glad that you had me on live, and it's nice to see you.
I know. Hi.
Yeah.
Welcome to my jungle. Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Heather. It was a pleasure having you on today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, for asking your questions, and for the support. Where can people find you, Heather? What are some of your handles and your website for your coaching?
So right now, just go ahead and shoot me a message on Heather N Woods or Heather.Woods BJJ, and you can just find in my link tree a way to schedule. We're redoing the website right now completely, so right now it's not up. Oh, hi. I just saw people say hi. Miss you too. So right now, just find me on Instagram or if you have Facebook. But I mean, if you're watching, you have Instagram. So thank you so
Awesome.
much for having me, and go ahead and check out our horse camp. Guns and horses.
Awesome.
It's gonna be fun. And
Yay.
all right.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much. Thank you,
I need
everybody.
to get
Take care. We'll
deep.
see you guys next
Thank
time.
you. Bye.
Bye.
You got me loose and set me free.